Let's have a little bit more of a difficult conversation here about the Los Angeles Chargers. Next email comes in from Mark on Lad McConkey. Mark writes in, boys, can you spare me some time to talk in depth about Lad McConkey? All of the metrics. I mean, take your pick. Tell one story. His box score and my team's 1-3 record tells another. I left Pittman on my bench for him this week. Those points would have won me my matchup because everyone, Mark, apologies, I was definitely one of these, everyone that you're pointing out here, so my bad, buddy, said the Giants were the perfect get-right opportunity. All caps, nope. And I bet the underlying metrics still say he generated opportunities in this week's game. Listen, I'm a believer in analytic approaches, but at what point do we say this isn't going to happen no matter how much it should unless there's an injury or a major change? I also wanted to shout out Ethan Conley sent in a tweet that said, QJ stole Lad's powers like in Space Jam. I mean, that might be what happened. I don't know. I do a lot of wide receiver work, Boone. I haven't done any in-depth research on the potential, Space Jam, Monstars type situation here. But yeah, look, it's not gone great for Lad right now. I want to throw it to you here and just get your thoughts on where Lad McConkey is, because I thought this was a great get right opportunity. As Mark said, some of the underlying metrics were opportunity wise, were still good, but they weren't all perfect actually, because he just hasn't been getting the targets. He also had two very uncharacteristic drops in this game, which, I mean, that happens, but obviously not what you want to see.
Well, I'm not going to leave you alone out on the plank there, because I also thought this was going to be the week that he got right. So we were both wrong about that one. Instead, it ends up being, his worst statistical performance of the season, 6 targets, only 1 catch. And I know, there's going to be some ebb and flow. They have this trio now. That is what's different than what we thought this was going to be, the projections before the season, that Keenan Allen and QJ are both very solid fantasy wideouts. They're taking volume, they're taking work, and they're doing well with it, right? So it makes sense for this offense to continue to operate this way. And the ebb and flow of the season is going to eventually swing back to McConkey. He will have some games. He'll be all right in those weeks. But, man, it's hard for me to not have total panic here in terms of us looking at this guy as somebody that was going to be a fringe wide receiver 1 for fantasy, at worst, maybe a top 15 wide receiver on the season. And now, and my thing, it's not just one red flag, it's many red flags. It's the target competition. It's the offensive line injuries that we just talked about. It's now a 4-game sample of him just not having a big performance in this new scenario with these receivers coming on and with the way they're running the offense this year. So for me, I'm not even so sure he is the clear number 1 in this offense. I think there's a lot of offenses around the league that like to spread the ball around. And I wonder whether the Chargers just going to be content doing that the rest of the way and using all these options that they have. And it renders him more of a low end wide receiver 2. And really, I'm going to rank all these guys from wide receiver 15 to wide receiver 30 any given week. And I think this week there's a strong chance that McConkey is going to be 3rd in that group.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything you just said there, in that I do wonder if this Chargers team is going to become one of those. It's going to become one of the. It's a better version of this, but the Colts or the Packers or even your Bills to some degree, right? Where it's everybody eats wide receiver 1 by committee. Now, I definitely think in some of the first couple of games, you still saw from a conceptual point, when you're watching the film, that, they're setting up Lad McConkey for the important routes in the intermediate area. I think you've seen a little bit less of that as QJ has continued to demand more of the football. That's part of it. And also, well, guess what? The guy who's going to run the least amount of layup routes in this offense, because QJ does some of the underneath stuff against zone coverage where they pin the football on him for catch and run opportunities. Keenan Allen, 3rd and Keenan, he's the chain mover, right? Well, Lad's living in that intermediate area where that's just a little bit more difficult to access when you have pass protection issues. So that's going to be as you mentioned, we're compounding factors here now that force us to, yes, 100% adjust our priors from the beginning of the season. Lad McConkey was your 2nd round pick. who cares? It's September 29th. It's over. Like that's not happening. But I'm not ready to go full coping corner yet. And I'm actually surprised we did a YouTube poll. Let's pull the results of that up here. I'm actually surprised that only 20% of the people in the YouTube chat right now voted for coping corner for Lad McConkey, because Twitter was ready to put him in the coping corner. So again, for the audio listeners, 47% of people said total panic for Ladd McConkey, 30% some panic, 20% coping corner, 3% no panic. I think, yes, I'm with Boone. We're at total panic, 100% for like Ladd McConkey, viewing him as a wide receiver one. He's not going to be a wide receiver one. I think that would just be really difficult unless, Keenan Allen, knock on wood. I don't want to see Keenan get hurt, but he's a guy that doesn't have an injury history. If he misses time, then I think, Ladd goes back to getting more of those layup duties like we saw last year, clearly kind of maximized in that way. But as we stand right now, Boone, I don't see this changing. That's not to say he's not going to have big weeks. Now, from to Mark's perspective, what do? You keep starting him, and then Michael Pittman's on your bench, and he's outscoring Ladd McConkey. That's difficult. But, shoot, what would be your level of surprise if we're sitting here next week and Ladd McConkey went for 100 yards and a touchdown against the Commanders' defense that let Trey Tucker score 3 touchdowns?
Right, but I think the problem is going to be how consistent is he going to be? Are we going to see that every other week? Are we going to see that every third week? Or now is it going to become a thing where once a month we get a Ladd McConkey game? Like, that's why I'm going to the total panic range, is because I just don't think we're going to see it as frequently. I remember before the season, I don't remember whose projection it was, but I saw someone's projection for Ladd McConkey, and it was like 1,700 receiving yards. And at first I was like, oh my God, like, that's
a lot.
Insane, right? And then I tried to think it through and go like, is there a scenario where like Keenan Allen's old and QJ's not, and it was like there could be a scenario where all of a sudden he's like a 15.
That was after after the Keenan signing.
It was after the Keenan signing, and I was trying to talk through it. Sometimes you see other analysts put content out, you see it and you question it, and then you try to okay, can I logic this through to get where they got to? Is there something I'm missing? And I remember at the time I tried to convince myself of that. It's just a different world we're living in right now, right? This is a completely different scenario where these other receivers are more than competent, where any week one of these guys can go off or two of these guys can go off and put up top 10 numbers. And Ladd's just part of that mix now. He is no longer this clear cut, only good receiver on the team attached to a good quarterback. Now there are so many weapons, and there's more coming on. Marion Hampton coming on, Aranda Gadsden at tight end potentially turning into something. I know Harbaugh really likes him. Could we see other guys get involved that are only going to take more away? And then when you have these offensive line injuries, are they just going to try to survive the next couple of weeks? Are they going to lean on Hampton and just try to get through these games as opposed to kind of throwing the ball around the yard like they have been? Because do they want to put Herbert in harm's way like that and step him back there that many times? There's a lot of things to consider, but bottom line, it comes down to the fact that there are 3 receivers where we're going to just shake them up and throw them out, and they could end up any which way any given week. And that's not a scenario where McConkey's going to return even top 15 value.
Yeah, I gave a slight ding to Ladd from an overall receiver or from an overall rankings perspective when Keenan Allen signed. I think you had to adjust after that happened, but clearly it wasn't a big enough adjustment. And then secondly, just nobody saw this QJ season coming. I don't even know if the coaching staff saw. Let me tell you what, they wouldn't have drafted Trey Harris and Keandre Lambert-Smith if they thought this QJ season was coming. But it's here and it's real. Like I've said, the reception perception charting to start the season backs up the way QJ is playing, specifically against zone coverage. Now, I also think when I watched Ladd McConkey play, I chart him play, he's still good. He will have his weeks, but he might be more of a Tyler Lockett type of player. That's actually the prospect comparison that I had for him. And Lockett was a great player, but he was never, a top 5 receiver in the NFL. As much as I love Tyler Lockett, he was never that guy. So that player kind of stuck in a crowded receiving room for a passing offense that's now hitting some fits and starts. Yeah, that equals a guy that is going to be a little bit more boom bust than somebody you can just set and forget in fantasy every single week and get, 10 plus points consistently. So before we move on from this, we have to address one more thing because we had a YouTube comment about this. We're going to share this here. This is from Tyler in the YouTube chat. Said, Matt Harmon, you said you would eat a pen if Ladd would not outproduce Quentin Johnston season long. 13 Johnston targets today. Where is Ladd at? It is time to eat that effing pen. LOL, are you a gel pen guy or a fancy pen guy? This is going to be straight out of a scene from Saw. Okay, number one, Tyler, I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for watching the show. Thank you for commenting. We love everybody that watches and comments. So, Tyler, shout out to you. I'm not coming at you for this, but that is not what I said. And this is not an attack on Tyler, but as a society, listen, Boone, I am 100% okay with getting dunked on. Like you came on this show and dunked on me right away. Totally cool with that. You know, we're pals. Tyler and I, we're pals because he watches the show. Okay. We're all among friends here. Totally fine to dunk on each other. But if we're going to do that, we also have to be accurate. So let's play the clip of what exactly I said about the Chargers wide receivers. The fact that Keenan Allen is like wide receiver 5 in PPR points, Quentin Johnson 7, and Ladd McConkey's 40. I will eat this pen if that's the case by the end of the season. Okay, like that's not going to happen. That will normalize itself. No, I mean, listen, I'm telling you, Lad McConkey, wide receiver 40, I'll eat this friggin' pen and you know, probably die because of it. It is what it is. But
producer Colin, clip that. We're gonna need that at the end of the season potentially.
I should probably not be manifesting these things after we just had that Ashton Jeanty, Trent Richardson thing. Okay, so
man,
number one, we're 23.5% of the way through the season. It looks like we have the pen meter. The Lad McConkey pen meter. Shout out to Jason Jung, by the way, for this incredible graphic. So this is how close we are to me having to eat the pen, because what I said, and Boone, you can tell me if I'm misinterpreting my own words, because sometimes you come on the show, you say stuff, and then boop, right out the memory, it's gone. I do remember saying this though. I believe what I said was, if Ladd McConkey is wide receiver 40, I will eat this pen. I'm holding it right here for the YouTube viewers. I'm holding the pen. I said I will eat this pen if Ladd McConkey is wide receiver 40. I do not believe I said if Ladd McConkey does not outscore Quentin Johnston, I will eat the pen. I think Quentin Johnston outscoring Ladd McConkey is 100% live. Like, shoot, I mean, right now, look at the damn numbers, okay? He's way outscoring Ladd McConkey. And the reason I'm saying this is not a cop-out or anything. I will eat this pen if Ladd McConkey is not a top 40 fantasy receiver. And the reason this is not a cop-out is because this has actually gotten worse since we said it. And now he's wide receiver 55. We're trending backwards on the pen meter. I'm closer to eating the pen now than I was a week ago. So I just want to get the record straight here, because again, Tyler, all the people, you can dunk on me. I get stuff wrong all the time. This might be a take that ages poorly, but if we're going to dunk on each other, we have to be accurate. This is a societal thing we've got to be correct about.
I want to say a couple things here. One is, everyone listening, can you hear the fear in Harmon's voice right now? It is
yes,
real.
I'm nervous.
He is worried about this. He is genuinely worried about this. And if I had to do like a meter right now for him, I might be at total panic for you, because I'm also worried. And it's mostly about the risk reward, because like the risk of eating a pen, there's some serious ramifications with that. I took it even one step further. Like you're saying, Ladd won't finish as the wide receiver 40. I thought there was one more caveat on that I don't even think you necessarily are requiring. I thought it was that the other two guys had to finish inside like the top 10 or top 15. Like there was this massive gap between the two where Allen and QJ end up, at the time, you said in the clip, they were top 10 fantasy receivers, that they needed to finish up in that range, and then McConkey also finishing around 40. But you're saying it's just Ladd McConkey finishing 40 or lower? That's what you're going with?
Well, because I think that if one happens, the other will naturally happen. That's what I mean by normalizing, right? Is that I think if Ladd McConkey comes up to, let's say, wide receiver 28, then QJ probably comes down to like wide receiver 15. Keenan Allen comes down to like wide receiver 24 or something like that, right? Like that's what I mean. This stuff has to all work out from a math perspective, and I just think that math-wise, it's not going to be those two guys are top 10, Ladd is 40. And again, we went backwards after 1 week. And yes, I am very nervous. Look, not to make this all about me, but I take good care of myself from a physical perspective. I eat very clean. Okay. I'm high protein. You know, I'm spending a lot of money, okay, on the diet. Grass-fed beef, pasture raised eggs. I do all that. I be very careful about what I put in my body, and then I'm going to eat a pen. And like, that's what's going to take me out. That's a tough way to go.
Yeah. Hopefully you have like a really good blender that can mix that up into something. I don't know, but yeah, I'm trying to give you lifelines. I'm trying to add like little things to it going, well, the other two have to finish high, don't they? Like, we got to do a few things. And you're like, no, it's okay. Just Ladd under wide receiver 40. All right, man. I'm hoping, I'm wishing you good luck on this one.